And I now give the floor to the representative of Russian Federation.
Mr. President, we'd like to express gratitude to the Undersecretary General, Jean-Pierre Lacroix. We thank him for the briefing on the work of MINUSMA and on the situation in the country. The situation in Mali remains very tense. The extremists continue terrorizing the local population. They continue attacking the Mali military units, attacks also on UN peacekeepers and on the contingents from other international forces. The armed forces of Mali, the blue helmets, of the UN stabilization mission in Mali, suffered heavy losses in March. Unfortunately, despite all of the mediation efforts, intracommunal clashes in the central areas continue, and to a large extent these clashes are provoked by extremists. The Secretary General's report also states that there is a destabilization risk also to the southern area of the country, which up until now remained calm. We are very concerned by the situation in the tri-border area, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, the Liptako-Gourma triangle. In the recent day, there have been fighter forays in that area basically every day, and there were several horrifying acts of terror that took place in Niger. We would like to express our condolences to the people and governments of the countries whose citizens and peacekeepers die and perish at the hands of terrorists in the region. We expect that the authorities of Mali and the Mali of neighboring states will continue acting even more decisively so as to eliminate this scourge from their lands. Now, in the political area, we welcome the steps undertaken by the government of Mali in terms of creating a transitional government institutions. The National Transition Council has started working. The action plan and the roadmap on restoring constitution and conducting elections have been approved. We would like to express the hope that all of these measures will be implemented in a timely manner within the 18 months of the transition period. And a lot here will depend on the continued dialogue on this issue between the authorities and all interested parties, including the platform and coordination movements. We note the efforts made by the African Union and ECOWAS, the efforts aimed at settling the situation in the country. We have always consistently supported these efforts. Stabilizing the situation in the country depends directly on strict implementation by the transition government and other political forces of the Algiers peace agreement. We expect that in this area we will see a continued constructive dialogue with the groups of signatories. And in this regard, we welcome the outcome of the Agreement Monitoring Committee meetings, which took place in February and March. We expect that the process of disarmament, demobilization, and the reintegration of former combatants will be accelerated, as well as the deployment of new units in the north. Parallel to that, there needs to be a reform of state administration, and the conditions need to be created for the social economic recovery of the impacted areas. The interests of all peoples in the country, and in particular its northern territories, need to be taken into account. We're very concerned by the humanitarian situation. The number of people in need of food assistance has increased considerably. And in the past year, there was more than a 50% increase in the number of the internally displaced. All of this requires an appropriate reaction on the part of humanitarian agencies. We also need to bear in mind that the situation in Mali is key for regional security. We expect that we will see a continuation of the Mali Armed Forces' fully-fledged participation in operations conducted by the G5 Sahel Joint Force. We also expect that the decisions made by West African countries in 2020 and 2021 on how to intensify their work, their fight against terrorism, will be implemented. The idea put forward by the AU Commission about deploying the African standby forces in the region is something that needs to be carefully looked at. What is an imperative here is continued close cooperation and coordination between Bamako and the UN stabilization mission in Mali. The peacekeepers should continue strictly implementing their mandate in the north and in the center of the country. And we welcome the assistance that MINUSMA is extending to the Sahel G5 joint force. By and large, we also share the proposal on the modalities for the future work of the Blue Helmets in Mali, the proposals that we have in the Secretary General's roadmap. It is clear that the primary tasks here is extending assistance in restoring the constitution and also help in implementing the peace agreement. In this regard, MINUSMA's presence remains key for the prospect for future stabilization. We would like to recall here, however, that the main responsibility for protecting the civilians, ensuring that control is returned over the northern regions for socioeconomic and other issues is something that belongs with the Malians themselves. In conclusion, we'd like to thank Mohamed Saleh Anadif for his effective leadership of the mission during these challenging years, and we wish him every success in his new post. At the same time, we welcome the appointment of El Ghassim to the post of Special Representative on Mali, and we reiterate our readiness to cooperate closely for the stabilization in Mali and the region as a whole. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation for her statement.